that is very helpful. Stephen Kinnock.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rycroft, for coming to see us today. I'm just interested in the wording of the 1st of November motion, which was, of course, passed unanimously by the House and ruled as binding by the Speaker. And I know, obviously, as a civil servant, you're not involved in the political discussions that are taking place between ministers and whips, but were you aware of the wording of that motion at a stage at which you could potentially, you feel, have intervened and said to ministers, well, the House is asking for something that doesn't exist?
The response to a motion like that is obviously for the political side of the government to deal with. I personally wasn't aware of the terms of the motion when it came forward, but the decision on how to respond to the motion is one that was taken by the Chief Whip, as Secretary of State said, and the government, the political side of the government as a whole, not by civil servants.
Can you maybe just talk us through your thoughts then when you did see that motion and you realised that you were being asked, in essence, by the House on the basis of a binding and unanimously passed motion to provide information to the committee that does not exist? Did you not find that to be a somewhat odd state of affairs?
A little bit odd. I have to say, Mr. Kinnock, my initial thought was, well, how do we provide information to the committee that is useful? So what process could we put in place that overcomes the fact that there aren't those impact assessments, but nevertheless assures the committee that there are sectoral analyses which are thorough and full and competent, in order to, if you like, meet the spirit of the humble address, and that's the process we embarked on. Thanks.
Just a final question, just to dig in a little bit on this definition of what an impact assessment is, and in your view as obviously a very highly experienced civil servant. I mean, I don't know what, the semantics of the Better Regulations Unit's definition, which the Secretary of State just shared with us, but I would have thought there'd be pretty much a common sense, if you like, layman's definition is it would need to be something that outlines the expected costs and benefits of a scenario or a set of scenarios and says, that surely is the definition of impact and how you assess that impact. Would you agree with that, or could you share with the committee how would you define what an impact assessment actually is?
As you know, the civil servants are sort of creatures of guidance and of form, and there is actually a very formal definition of what an impact assessment is. Rightly so, because those impact assessments inform the decisions that are taken in Parliament about legislation and regulation, and the form that has been devised, guided by the Regulatory Policy Committee over time, has been honed to make sure that the information that Parliament receives at the moment it takes decisions on specific regulatory and legislative propositions is well informed by an understanding of the impact of those propositions. So I have here the Cabinet Office Legislative Guidance extract from Chapter 14. It does give quite a detailed technical description of what we think of as impact assessments. So the issue we're dealing with as we come into the negotiation, of course, is that there is a huge, as the Secretary of State again has said, there is a huge variety of variables, and applying judgment to those in terms of informing the decisions that ministers might take. Actually, the impact assessment methodology is not as useful in that context as it is when you're describing the cost benefits of a specific proposition, which is to be decided on by Parliament. So that is that's what guides the guidance, if you like. So when you ask civil servants about impact assessments, they immediately go to that guidance. Just worth saying, I mean, there is an impact assessment of the withdrawal bill, for example, and we are, duty bound to do those impact assessments for all major and indeed minor legislative propositions.
Thank you.
Okay.